Good. Yeah.
Good. Just for everyone's sake, just your first name.
Thanks.
So, you have a pretty good idea what we're here about? I've told you a little bit about street epistemology.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So, epistemology is just about how we know what we know. And so the idea of having these little conversations is just to have a brief discussion with someone about something they happen to believe in, and it could be anything. I mean,
Okay.
absolutely anything.
Yeah.
It could be a political statement. It could be you believe in astrology, or whatever.
Right.
So it's just something that is important in your life, which belief which you use to sort of guide, what you do and how you act in the world and all that kind of stuff. And it's not so much about what it is; it's more important about the methodology for how you get to where what you believe is what you believe. If that
Okay.
makes any sense. So, do you have a belief that you'd like to talk about? And we'll try and keep it down to like 20 minutes. Just
Yeah.
it makes it a nice, quick discussion.
Um.
You believe in Santa Claus?
No, not anymore.
Not anymore.
No.
But you used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Took me a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So just on that, say, how did you get to the point where you no longer believed in Santa Claus? Say.
Okay.
What was it that took you there?
I. It's hard to remember. It wasn't really significant in that sense.
Was it a gradual thing?
Yeah, it was gradual.
Okay.
It wasn't very subtle and boom. But it before it used to be Grandma and Grandpa was the Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and all that. And,
Right.
Um,
So what was it that was kind of tuning you into the fact that perhaps what you thought was true was not really the way you thought it was?
Eventually I was told just straight out. I didn't believe it at the time, right? So,
Didn't believe that it wasn't true?
yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
I see. Okay.
They told me. I didn't believe that.
Oh, okay. So despite someone saying that Santa Claus isn't a real guy,
Yeah.
you went, it can't be true.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So what tipped you off in the end? What do you think? Was it just these little things that sort of added up and you can't quite put your finger on it, or was there, some specific thing that really just kind of went, oh, you know what? Maybe I am wrong about
No,
this.
I think it was just a little things along the way.
Is that right?
Eventually, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you've had a pretty good belief in that later turned out not to be the case?
Mm. There's not really anything big.
Okay.
Nothing I
Well,
could really
what
recall.
a small thing. Have you ever believed in astrology?
Astrology. That's
You look at your sign. I don't know what sign you are.
oh,
You're like a Libra
right.
or something, or
Gemini and stuff
you're-
like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't sound like, just by the way you're saying it, that
No.
you don't have a very strong belief
No,
in it, right?
I know.
Okay.
I have
And you never have.
no.
Oh, okay. Okay. Why not?
I just never really looked into it.
Oh, okay.
And that, yeah.
Okay. Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. don't know. It's kind of fun to believe it. It's kind of neat just to believe that something big and hairy is out there, and
Mm-hmm.
we haven't really proven it yet. Although, that's kind of one of the reasons it's hard to believe that it is, because
There isn't sufficient evidence.
There's no, you know,
Huh.
we don't see these taxidermied Bigfoots in our museums, right?
Right,
So,
right. We don't see. I mean, what other things might serve as evidence for the existence of a Bigfoot?
For the existence of
Well,
it?
I mean, if someone, and this is just generally the way, the kind of way it works out there is, if someone makes a claim,
Yeah.
it's that person's burden of proof in order to demonstrate that their claim is true. Would you agree that that's a pretty reasonable statement?
Sounds about right, yeah.
Okay. So if I said there were UFOs and aliens had abducted me, that would be a pretty out there kind of claim, and
Yeah.
and you would expect me to have some pretty good
Yeah.
proof,
Some material, yeah.
some pretty good evidence
Yeah.
to demonstrate that, well, maybe this is true, or maybe worthy of more investigation. Now, is that, in people making claims about things, is evidence generally a good thing? Would you say that, there's sort of a standard of evidence that somebody should be able to provide in order to demonstrate their claim is true?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would there be exceptions to that?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you think? What might
Um,
be excluded from the requirement of evidence?
mm, Maybe if you trust the claim and the person, and
Okay.
um, of course it's not 100%. It's not concrete, but
Right.
just little more backing.
Yeah.
You know?
Is there? I mean, certainly there's people out there that make claims about things that may seem trustworthy. Is it enough to trust a trustworthy person, or how do you establish whether or not a person's trustworthy enough to reduce the level of evidence needed to justify a claim?
Um. Well, like somebody you know very well, and I think it would also depend on how outlandish the claim is. And
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So would you say there's different levels of expectation with respect to evidence then, depending on how extreme the claim is?
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Carl Sagan?
No.
Oh, okay. He was a really, really good scientist, but he's got this saying, or he had this saying, that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Ordinary claims require ordinary evidence. So
Yeah.
the more extraordinary a claim, necessarily, the more extraordinary the evidence has
Yeah.
to be. You can't just say, well, my evidence for aliens is that there's a dead patch of grass over there where they landed, and that's it.
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't suffice, right?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
What would suffice? What would be more sufficient in order to demonstrate that kind of a claim was true?
Well, for aliens, that's pretty big and out there, but it could definitely have a very big impact on our life
If it was true,
if it did turn out to be
right?
there.
But certainly, a dead patch of grass is not what you would consider
Yeah.
a very good piece of evidence for the existence of aliens or that aliens have visited?
No.
How about pyramids? Is that a piece of evidence that somebody could use as towards claiming that aliens are true? Saying, well, the people of that time couldn't have possibly built that thing, so therefore aliens.
I I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that there was enough evidence compiled that the Egyptians could do that
Okay.
with what they had, and then again, I'm not an expert on that, so I don't really.
And sometimes
know
that's
how
that's a great answer, right? It's just I don't know enough about it to say.
Yeah.
Some people, of course, are sort of taken by their own incredulity and say, well, that guy says it must be true, and this is why, and this is why, and this is why.
Yeah.
And some people buy those books, right? So, but so that's refreshing that
Yeah.
you hold it to a higher standard.
Yeah.
Anything else you can think of, like what what other kinds of beliefs do you think are out there that you'd be skeptical of, and why? I guess. Nice hat, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah.
I'll have to edit that bit out.
Yeah.
Has anyone made a claim to you that you kind of went? Maybe you initially believed it, and then you went, just a little bit on further investigation. Maybe you kind of went, I don't know about that. Would you consider yourself a skeptic? Maybe that's a better question.
That's somebody that likes to look into the.
Well, someone that doesn't take everything on face value.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, again, just taking it back to that question, has anyone ever made a claim to you that you thought, man, I don't know, I think I better check that one out?
Well, I remember when I started getting into learning about the military. I started learning about different firearms, and there was a whole bunch of anti-gun kind of stuff that really kind of made you think.
Okay.
And then I remember there was a few things that didn't quite add up.
Okay. Do you have an idea of? Can you elaborate?
Well, first thing I think of is people trying to ban assault rifles.
Okay.
They kept making claims that those kind of things were more dangerous than other types of firearms.
Okay.
Like handguns
Okay.
and that isn't really true at all. And
Okay.
right, handguns account for a lot more deaths
Assault
than
rifles?
long rifles. Yeah,
Okay.
at all. Yeah,
How about semi-automatics?
yeah. Still more deaths by handguns. Yeah.
Right, right. It almost makes sense to me. But it's interesting that that you stopped to think about that.
Yeah.
Now, what if it were the other way around? How would that
Um,
would that affect your your appreciation of guns or?
mm, Possibly. Yeah.
No, okay.
Um, yeah. It would definitely. Um, Definitely make me question a little more whether we should have, those kinds of things.
Right. Now, knowing that that handguns,
Yeah.
as far as you've been able to investigate, are responsible for more deaths than long guns or long rifles and automatic weapons.
hmm
What is your feeling about gun control with respect to handguns?
Um, well, I think it's definitely more justified than targeting long rifles, semi-automatic
Hmm.
rifles. Um, um, yeah, I see a lot of states in the in the
Yes.
U.S. trying to ban assault rifles and all that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
um, because they claim it's more dangerous. And I think that Canada has definitely done a little more research and looked into it and said, wait a second, you know,
Hmm.
look at how many handguns are killing our people
Right.
every day, right?
Right. Right. So, do you have do you have a specific belief around guns?
Um, I guess so, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
What would you say that belief is?
um, well, it's of course highly controversial, but I think that
Well, all controversy aside,
yeah.
let's just say it's you thinking about it and you believing what you do based on your evidence and research and all that.
Okay. Well, I think that um, owning a firearm yourself um, definitely allows you to keep you and those around you safer um, in a situation where an assailant wants to do harm to you.
Okay. Now, I know that that's a popular sort of credo in America. Do you feel that that credo applies to our situation here in Canada?
Well, actually, we still have um, a lot of gun violence, knife violence,
Sure.
right? Just all that.
Hmm.
And I mean, the laws are a little more strict here in Canada for
Yeah.
self-defense, but um, in the instance where it is your life or theirs, it could be that difference.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm. Is I don't know if you've done any sort of a background on uh, gun and knife violence in Canada as compared to the United States.
Um, I know that U.S. obviously has the highest gun violence in the world,
Right.
but then again, that's just by the numbers. It's not by capita. I think there were some places elsewhere that had higher gun violence per capita.
Hmm. And so you've looked into this a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. So where would say out of the top or of the top 100 countries, where do you think the U.S. would place in terms of gun violence on that list? One being the highest and 100 being the lowest.
Well, they're definitely up there. They're definitely high gun violence, but
Where do you think Canada would sit on that 1 to 100?
1 to 100. I think within the top 20 at least.
Oh, okay, interesting. Okay. Now, if it were your, if you had a choice, Pebbles. If you had a choice, would you carry?
Yes.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And why?
Because it allows me to defend myself and those around me from situations where somebody wants to do harm to somebody else.
Okay. And how old are you now?
16.
Have you ever been in a situation where, that was necessary, that you would have felt better or more comfortable having a firearm with you?
I haven't had a direct confrontation where I've needed to use a weapon like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I am, I guess, always vigilant in the sense of, always being ready to defend and
Mm-hmm.
help those if they need it.
Right. But I know that you've got your black belt in karate.
Yeah.
Compared to that and a gun, what do you think your level of ability to defend yourself or act in the defense of others? Isn't a black belt in karate a pretty significant level of self-defense?
Well, I think it is. But if you get into a hand-to-hand confrontation like that, it can be very dangerous, especially if a knife is involved. Somebody's bound to get cut.
Right. So is that the kind of situation you prefer to have a gun? And sorry for doing that, and I shouldn't have. But, it just brought to mind right away is bringing a gun to a knife fight, or don't bring a knife to a gunfight, right?
Yeah.
Like, in a situation where a person pulled a knife on you, would you be prepared to pull a gun and potentially shoot somebody? I'm just asking. This is not a judgment call on my part at all.
Are you sorry? Say it.
Well, I mean, so you said in a situation where a knife is drawn and it's hand to hand, there's a, and you actually engage somebody, there's a good chance that somebody's going to get cut. My question was, if that situation arose, would you, being able to carry a gun, would you be prepared to pull a gun, and in pulling a gun, be prepared to shoot somebody for wielding a knife?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, and I know you've got, of course, you've been doing some training with the armed forces. Do you feel that is part of the training that's given you that level of confidence in believing that would be an appropriate response?
I think it could. Yeah.
Okay. Because maybe Joe Blow on the street, just walking down the street packing a gun.
Yeah.
Somebody draws a knife on him, he pulls his gun out, pow pow.
Yeah.
Well, he's had no sense of discipline or military training.
But I think.
But you think that might have.
Yeah.
That
somebody
that might help
has, their training, their their licenses and all that.
Do you? And I just, out of my own curiosity, do you think you would be, because of your training, and of course you have your firearms license? I don't think you didn't get your restricted because you're still too young, right? Do you think you're better prepared than Joe Blow on the street, based on your training? That you might exercise, say, more restraint in a situation like that?
Yeah, I feel confident in my abilities and in my training and knowledge.
Cool.
That I can definitely contain the situation.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And it is all about discipline, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, being able to assess the situation. And
Yeah.
I mean, they teach you that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like,
No. Yeah.
the reason people panic is because they don't have a plan.
Yeah, and that's how people get killed.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Okay, cool. So you're pretty confident that that you've got that level of training and confidence and skill and judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think you do too. Quite honestly.
Thanks.
I mean, just knowing you, knowing you as I do. Anything else you can think of? So I'm just going to interrupt here just for a sec because, of course, your mom and your grandma were concerned that you might end up saying something or I might pull something out of you that would compromise you in the future. You know what I mean? Like, so just so you're aware that,
Okay.
I'm being kind of cognizant of that. I don't want to put you on the spot, but at the same time, the idea is to really understand for my own self and for the people that watch this stuff, how we actually arrive at the beliefs that we have, right? So, we don't choose our beliefs. Would you agree that that's true? Like, you remember we were talking about Santa Claus?
Yeah.
You didn't suddenly decide to believe that Santa Claus wasn't true.
Yeah.
Beliefs are built on observations, built on interactions with other people, and these things change and they evolve over time.
Yeah. Well, and
Like,
now especially with technology and
Sure.
right, it's a lot easier to
Yeah,
influence.
you're able to expose yourself to more than your side of a topic, and that will help certainly help people sort of modify their beliefs
Yeah.
in accordance with
definitely.
whatever evidence. Yeah. Okay, so can you think of anything else that sort of guides the way you move through the world in the 16-year-old universe you live in?
I I don't know, over the time I I've had some rough spots where sometimes I get down and it's really hard to keep get up in the morning and stuff like that.
Mm.
But I guess one of my beliefs would be that if you can just make one step every every uh, every time, right? You just take one more step.
Put one foot in front of the other,
Yeah.
and you'll get to where
you know,
you're going.
you don't have to, you know, and sometimes you need to slow down, and expectations can be high, but sometimes you just gotta take it slow,
Right on.
right? And if you do need to slow down, just keep moving.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Just keep moving forward and don't stop.
Yeah.
Right.
Right on. Well, it certainly seems to have worked for you so far. Hey.
Yeah, no, I got
mean,
myself out of those ruts, and
Right.
you know,
And they're probably pretty. I mean, even speaking from my own experience when I was your age, I did not like being
Yeah.
that age.
Yeah.
It was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it looks like, well, you're certainly on the better end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, good. Any aside from putting that one step in front of the other, is there any other sort of life lesson you might share with other 16-year-olds to give them a sense of the light at the end of the tunnel? You know, I mean, there's the persevere thing, but is there anything else you can think of that really is a takeaway for you?
Yeah, I mean, I remember as I was younger, I tried to, wear the clothes that everybody else did, and try to look like somebody else, look like them, and be like them. And I think you just have to find that thing that makes you passionate and makes you the better you, and that's gonna make you as an individual strive much better.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, and yeah, get to bigger heights.
What's that?
Get to bigger heights.
Bigger heights.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So what'd you think? Is that I mean, that's street epistemology. That's what I do. That's what we do. Yeah. What do you think? Not too stressful, eh?
It's a little.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, right? What do you think? Good to kind of really
Reflection.
have to reflect on things like that. Yeah.
It makes you dissect yourself and your
Right.
inner. Yeah.
Right on. Cool. Now, is what would be your takeaway from having this conversation then?
I think it makes me want to, dig a little deeper into what I see and what I hear and watch.
Mm-hmm. It is a good thing, isn't it? I mean, as
Yeah.
you say, having evidence for claims and having extraordinary evidence for extraordinary claims,
Yeah.
it's a good to recognize that variable scale of what's required in order to prove something, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good thing to apply in life, I think. Personally, I do.
Yeah.
But it's good to see it in somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on. Not that I mean, a lot of people do, but again, some people don't, right? So,
Yeah.
you think the world is a better place with people who think critically?
Oh yeah.
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 What would be one good reason you could pop off the top of your head for that?
I guess you're reflecting on the or your remind me again what critical thinking
That's all right.
is.
I was just critical thinking, like examining claims and testing
okay.
evidence.
I
and that
thought
kind
so.
of stuff.
Just
Yeah. That's all right. So, what would be a good thing happening in the world for the sake of critical thinkers, for the sake of them being around?
well, you're dissecting what's
Yeah.
going on around you and pulling what's best out of it, and it's kind of like an art, right?
Okay.
In karate, our instructors tell us to dissect the movement and think of the applications. And if you find a really good application that works for you personally, you keep it. And you keep working on that movement, and you think of applications, and if you find a bad application, you throw it away. Right?
Cool.
So I think that that's kind of right. That
It applies in a
art
broader,
mentality.
large
Yeah,
lesson,
yeah.
life lesson. Yeah, right on. Cool.
You get the best out of that thinking. That
By examining.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. And anytime you want to have another one, you know where I live. Shadooby boo boo boo, it's been chats over coffee. Oh.